Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. So we're here with the man, the legend, the legacy maker, Sam Villa. Thank you so much for carving out some time for us. One thing I will say, great leadership has great teams. Marissa made this happen. We were bumping messages back and forth, fitting this in. And I just want to say thank you to your team for making some time for us. So let's jump in. I got a fun question. So you are moving, man. You've always been moving. Right? So the thing to continue your level of vitality and show up intentionally in the way that you can, in the way of all of your obligations, what's the thing that you do that helps you most with your vitality?
Well, one of my goals and objectives is always remembering that if I can help people get what they want, I'll get what I want. Yet I have to take care of myself in order to do that. And I'm just this little ever ready buddy machine that just keeps going because I love the industry. I've got so much passion for it. But I've learned in the last recent years, especially the last 3 years, that I've got to take care of myself. And one of the things that I'm doing consistently is my yoga and my meditation. I'm first up at 5 o'clock because it's quiet.
Same.
It's quiet.
Same.
It's amazing how peaceful it is. And I get to do my yoga. I get to do my meditation. And then it just sets me up for the day.
100%.
And it's really, I found, has centered me a lot more.
Yeah.
Taking care of myself. I guess I would always put people first and take care of them.
Yep.
And then I had a person come to Sam, when somebody says, can I help you do something? You always say, no, I've got it. It's okay. But I see you struggle and you're picking up the pace to get it done. People come to you because they want to be by you. They want to learn from you. They just want to be next to you and have the conversation. Let people do that for you because that's part of the mentoring process. So it's been quite some journey.
My wife recently, she heard this on a podcast, I think. In the mornings is for ourselves, during the day is for people, and then the evening is for our family. Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Because if you don't take time in the morning, you're never going to get that time during the day because it's with people, and the evenings are with your family. I have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. I'm not getting anything done after I pick them up.
That's
from
interesting,
school.
Evan. Maybe that's why they say breakfast is the most important meal. That morning session by yourself or with family, maybe. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. I'm going to remember that one.
And one thing I've noticed getting older is I stretch all the time. People are usually shocked by how much I stretch.
For a big guy.
Yeah. I mean, you
Tall
think about
guy.
it, like my shoulders are always front loaded. My wife is shorter. My kids are obviously shorter. So I'm never really like looking up. So I've got to I've got to stretch my back and hamstrings, and it makes a world of difference. And I played in a band for years, being stuffed in a van. So it's probably all of that leading up to this, but
yeah. Mine I'm going to go to. So the meditation piece, I want to praise my brain at the beginning of the day, let it get itself sorted. If I wake up with something that's scarce, why? Right? The part that I think is so funny when people are like, gosh, I just cannot meditate. I can't get my brain to slow down. I'm like, that's the point.
That's absolutely
let it sort,
right.
let it do its thing. But recently, so I have a side project called Midnight Oil, and with Midnight Oil, I genuinely and just as of last night, I work on it right before I go to bed, and it now is the first thing I do in the morning. So I'm spending 15 to 30 minutes editing, following up with emails, things of that nature, because it's for me. It's a passion project. It's something completely outside. It's not something I'm doing for profit or anything of that nature. Because what I find, and as you know, as the entrepreneur that you are, business, if you don't have clear boundaries, it will take all of your time. Yeah.
No doubt.
So powerful even right there. Yep. So we got yoga, meditation, stretching, mindfulness, awareness, and feel your passions. Let's jump into today's episode.
all right. So Sam, dude, you're a legend. I mean, I'm not a hairstylist. Saw you in Charlotte years ago and saw you teach, and you were cutting and working the entire time and just asking questions and keeping the engagement. And I was like, that's not normal. So you have a huge legacy. What's a part of your legacy that you're most proud of that maybe nobody really knows?
Oh, wow. That's a tough tough one, Evan, because everybody knows me for education or as a teacher. And if there's any part of my legacy that I want to be left is, I remember, Sam, that I could always attend a class and I'd walk away with something. It's always been important to me. And that's been part of, as an educator. But, in terms of, something that people don't know about me, that's a tough one.
Or maybe one that they don't always talk about. Like it's the education part they always talk about. What's part of your legacy that maybe most people don't know? It could be something personally as well.
I'm a sports guy, and I grew up coaching.
What sport level? What'd you coach?
I coached wrestling, football, track. I was just a big sports guy. And I also volleyball. I went to college on a volleyball scholarship, played volleyball. I was a setter. I wasn't tall. But I think those things kind of set me up for what I'm doing now. And little did I know that's what I would be doing, is not coaching, but teaching. But now coaching, coaching people, mentoring people, teaching people skills, things like that. So I think that's part of the legacy that people don't know. Well, how did Sam become where he is or get where he is? And I think little did I know that's where it started, doing that. I'll never forget when I was in beauty school, 3 months in school, my teacher came up to me. She just said, "Sam, come on." I said, "Yes." I won't say her name, but she said, "You see your client underneath the dryer there? The rollers are falling out. I want you to go over there, pick up the hood dryer, and I want you to apologize to your client. And I want you to put those rollers in there tight, Sam, so they'll stay." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." I walked over, apologized, did that. As I was walking over, she said, "Sam, and you might want to think about doing something else."
Wow.
Little did she know, you just said something that to a sports guy, you said you can't do it.
Game on.
Yes, it was. So I was like, oh man, God, maybe I did make the wrong. She just put me, I thought, no, I can do this. I'm going to prove to her I could do it. Interesting how my dad called me up that Friday, that weekend. "What are you doing Sunday?" I said, "Dad, I can't afford to do anything. I'm not doing anything." "Well, I'll be ready at 7. I'm going to pick you up for a hair show." I go, "What's that?" "That's where you go and you learn. It's important that you always go to education." Little did I know, this was in 1976. Now I dated myself, but he took me to see Vidal Sassoon.
Wow.
And I sat in the second row, in the middle row, about the middle of the program, on the edge of my seat. Dad says, "Sit back." I said, "Dad, I want to do that." "Want to do what?" I said, "I want to be up there someday. I want to be that's a platform artist." And he said, "Sit back." He goes, "That's all ego and no money. Now, if you're going to do it, prove to me you can do it without an ego, stay humble, and make money." My dad was a barber. He knew the industry.
Okay.
He knew the industry. So that's why he took me to this hair show. And from there, I knew. So now back to school, fast forward back to school, about ready to graduate. My teacher was like, "Sam, what got into you? All of a sudden you were cutting a straight line." I said, I'm going to be a platform artist." And she just kind of rolled her eyes and said, "Okay." Fast forward 3 years later. Well, actually, no. Okay. Redken, that was Hayashi. Let's see, about 76. 15 years later, I show up in San Francisco Bay Area doing a hair show. Who's sitting in the front row?
Sassoon.
My teacher.
Oh,
my musical teacher was sitting in the front row.
Oh man.
And so I looked at her and I started panicking. I'm like, oh no. So I start shaking. She goes like this. When I looked at her and she goes, "I want to talk to you afterwards." I said, "Okay." So then I'm trying to teach and I'm wondering, what does she want to talk to me about? What did I do now? Reverting back to the past. But I saw her, I said, "Hi," and blah, blah, blah. And she puts her hand in front of my mouth and I thought, oh God, here I go. And she says, "I'm here to apologize to you and tell you how proud I am of what you're doing in the end."
Oh, what a human.
Oh, it's just, and yes. And what a big turnaround, and it just, those are things that maybe people don't know what the sports did for me and how to set me up and my character and understanding consistency and responsibility and commitment.
Well, it's interesting too, because you coached somewhat individual sports, right? On the track side, on the wrestling side. And then you also coach team sports.
Yes.
Right. And getting those two pieces, I mean, that says a lot about your leadership.
Thank you.
In what you've established.
Hey, you said one thing, and you talked about ego, and we talk about ego all the time. Between us two, we hold each other accountable, no matter how big this company gets. Like, we are keeping each other in check because it's not about us. And our listeners have heard this quote, but this is a quote that I've taken. We've brought into the Refined Network: is pride walks into a room, it says, "Here I am."
Right.
Humility walks in the room and says, "There you are." And you're the person that walks in the room and says, "There you are." What are things that in your life that, because I mean, that ego, we all have an ego,
Yes,
right?
we
You
do,
got to keep
Evan.
it in check.
That's right.
How do you keep your ego in check?
It goes back to what my father once told me, which is what I told you earlier. I said earlier is a statement I made earlier, but didn't say where it came from. It came from my dad. You know, if you can help people get what you want, you'll get what you need. And ego is, you're absolutely right. Ego is important to have. But I ask people, how do you manage it? You've got to manage your ego. So let's, I think, like they did this test on senior citizens, said what the needs that you had in your life. What if you could do your life all over, what would you do? And one of the needs was, well, to be successful. But all our life, we put so much pressure on us. The need of being successful comes the fear of failure.
100%.
Like I always want to said, okay, I got into this. Well, if I'm going to stand up there, I hope they like me. I hope they like what I see. See, that's that ego that started it doing. So, have you in all your life, you walk around, you need to be liked.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much failure. If you put so much pressure on that, there's the failure of being disliked, so it's about letting go of your ego. Now I'm going to give it to you. Think of the word let, L-E-T, horizontally, L-E-T, and then I'm going to give you the ego vertically under the E, E-G-O.
Yep.
What I'm actually saying is let go of your ego because the ego is what creates the fears. That's what creates the fears.
I've never thought about it that
right.
way.
And that's beautiful. Just society in how we're brought up,
Yeah.
like be successful, Sam, go to school, all of those things. Make sure that you're nice to people so that they like you and things like that.
Yeah.
And, it's only natural, but so many people put so much pressure on that they become, how can I say this? They hold back because they're fearful.
And I think it's so interesting because I think that there's a massive amount of that is in the industry right now.
Yes.
The amount of like, 6-figure this or 6-figure that, right? In understanding like, hey, like there's a specific recipe to get there. And if you think that happens overnight, that comes with discipline, right? But if we think of like, the challenge that it is today to jump into our industry, right? Fashion has never been faster. Trends have never been more diverse, right? Never been faster moving. Humans have never been easier offended, less communicative, right? And when you think about that, like it always wasn't that way, right? And you think of the things that we have to develop as humans to be able to be good at this craft. It's so hard.
It's difficult. I'm going to just say it. I feel sorry for the youth. I feel sorry for the youth. And these people, they keep talking about the youth. And I say, look, they're not us when we were young. There never will be like I was when I was young. They don't want to work as hard as we did or like I did. And I accept that.
Yeah.
In other words, what I'm saying is that we need to embrace the youth and that are coming into this industry. We need to embrace who they are and what they're about. What I want to do is embrace them and teach them the standards of the industry so they understand the standards of the
leadership issue.
Yes. So if they know the standards, they can still be who they are. So my point there is you can change and still be who you are.
Right.
But in the world today, things are so fast paced, Christopher, like you're saying, this. And the students today are, just tell me, Sam, just give it to me. Give it to me. I'm more learner focused, where if you ask me a question, I know the answer, but I'm going to ask questions to lead you to the answer. So you become the hero, not me. That's teaching skills.
100%.
Questions are life's greatest resource to learn. But what we want to do is walk around giving answers. Everybody has an answer.
Listen, Christopher and I, we've talked about this. Like, it's easy to give out the answers.
Yeah.
It's hard to lead someone and ask the questions. I don't know if it's my male DNA. I'm like, people come to me, I'm like, we can fix that. But like, that's not the longevity of asking questions to get people to think. Where did you get your leadership development? I mean, obviously it comes natural. It comes more natural to others.
I think it's more about the passion I had about, like today with my team this morning in our brief, I said, I want you to look at the people that are standing in front of you and they have a card hanging, a necklace with a big card that says, make me feel important. So I want you with every colleague that's standing in front of our booth, you visualize that sign and you communicate to make them feel important. My goal is for you to teach them something about our tools. The goal is not to sell the tool. I want them walking away from the booth and saying, I didn't
learned
buy that
something.
blow dryer, but God, did I learn a lot about a blow dryer. They're going to go out there on that floor. They're going to hear all these conversations and they're going to remember the conversation my team had with them. And they're going to come back to us. So it's really about putting people first and making them feel good about themselves, making them feel important.
And this is what we've talked about. You're making, see what he's doing?
Yeah.
He's getting,
so
his company is playing a part of people's story.
Yes.
That's what sells. But yet we want to be like, oh, this is what we do, X, Y, and Z. People, you know, and you do as well, make yourself the god, not the hero. The hero is the guest. The hero, the people sitting in the room, because the hero always, if you in a movie, always has a problem. The guide is the one who plays in the background, helps the hero be successful.
Well, people want to be champion. They want to be at the top. Do me a favor. Stop focusing on that. Focus on who's in front of you and let those people push you to the top. Because that's what's happened with my career. You know, I didn't ask for titles. I just did my job, and they came and said to me, hey, you are now the artistic director for Redken. Great, thank you. I wasn't asked, but it's just people pushing you to the top. And that's what I tell a lot of the Redken artists that I coach. Stop trying to be who you want to be. Be who you are at the moment and let people push you to the top. That's so critical today.
I think so many people are looking for the quick fix, right? So if looking at someone coming in, because I think being coachable, being teachable, right? What in your mind helps someone be teachable? What are the things that we'd want to equip that mindset, that human with, to be teachable? Because here's the thing, like they're about growth and they have like the right variables, but they're not understanding the timeline piece of it, right? And what it takes.
Yes, a lot of people, it's like there was one class where the instructor, you break them down and then you build them back up. I don't believe in that. I don't think you need to break anybody down to build them back up. I think communication builds wealth and communication builds health. So it's about how are you communicating to this person? So it's about, you know, if I communicate with you, it's not about I. It's about we, about our, or me communicating to them, you know, with questions. And finding out about them, making it more about them than making it about me, and making that connection. And I really believe in today's world, it's about making those connections. How do you make connections? It begins with communication. It begins with how your body communicates, how your face communicates. It begins there. And that's what I teach these people when they're presenting. You know, your body is like, it communicates more than your voice. Voice is 7%. So if you're communicating like this with a sad face, exactly. It's like you showing me you don't care. You know, your body, you don't need to say a word. I already figured you out, you know? So it's really like showing up the right way, showing up the right way. And remember, it's not about me because I'm elevated more than you. I am here to help you grow. So I'm learner focused. I'm focused on them. People go, why do you drop down to your knees when you're on stages? It's because I choose to give my power away. See, when I'm standing, I got the power. But when I got something profound I want them to listen to, I'll drop down to my knees. Now I'm eye level with them. And I'm ruining my knees. But then again, I'm doing it for them. But then again, Christopher, I got to go back to start taking care of yourself, dude. You know? So now I'm going to start, you're going to see me in the future cutting more on a stool. You know, so, you know, and I felt I'm against that. That. But now I'm putting myself first.
Yeah,
now,
the ergonomics of it.
And I need to get on a stool.
For your longevity, because that's the big picture, right?
Yes.
Gosh, you said something just there. So I have a thing where I'm very apt to go into problem solving mode, right? You got a question, I want to take you on the fastest way to that solution. So I'll say is like, do you want me in listening mode or problem solving mode?
Yes.
And where what I'm just gleaning out of what you said was when I'm going to give them the listening mode answer, because I'd usually just quiet, right? But what you've just shared with me is I just ask questions based on what they're sharing.
Yes.
Right. And I'm staying in listening mode. I'm not giving anything away. So what you're saying is this is the problem.
Yes. And what I'm always saying, you're approaching me, you're asking for something, but what I'm doing is with those questions, I'm really finding out where you want to go.
Yeah.
I really want to get deeper and find out where you want to go. There's like a yuck berry somewhere in there that you want to pop.
Yeah.
But how are you going to pop it with softness to get to where they want to go? You know,
man. Well, I was just going to say, I want to honor your time because I know you're on a strict schedule. a lot of our listeners are salon owners, and they're listening to this because we are a salon resource. So they're coming here to get resources that they could take to their teams.
Mm-hmm.
In this podcast with you've got the mic, talk to a salon owner. Like, what would you say to a salon owner right now? It's like, I'm trying to grow my business.
Yeah, navigating
It's tough.
today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Today's economic structure is very interesting.
I think salon owners need to take a deep breath. Really begin there, take a deep breath, and know if you think properly ahead and you do the right things, you're going to be fine. And I also want to say, if you've done the right things in the past, you're going to be able to survive. But I think what I want to say to them is, I'm going to ask you a question. What's happening now in the salon that creates an experience? I really believe it's about the experience that you create in a salon for that guest that's sitting in the chair. So it's not so much about, I believe that the person that becomes continues to be the conversationalist behind the chair is the one that's going to lose. What I'm going to encourage them to do is be the educator behind the chair. Teach these people. That came coming off of COVID. What I learned there was, wow, we taught these people so much during COVID, and because a lot of them were starting to do things on their own,
right?
And the consumer found out about us on YouTube and was watching all that and learning. But why not do that behind the chair instead of trying to satisfy the person? I want you to satisfy on what their needs are. So the needs are, Sam, I have problems blow drying my fringe or something like that. So here's what I say to salon owners. I want you to get a little tripod, small little tripod, put it on your station. On there, put a card that says, for a free tutorial, place your phone here. If I was a guest, I'd sit down. So Sam, what's that card mean? I would place my phone there. Why? Oh, Louise, you know how you always tell me you have problems blow drying your hair? When it comes down to the blow dry, let's put your phone there. I'll press video. Yep. I'll start with, good morning, Louise. And I'm going to coach you now, today's session. I'm going to coach you on how to blow dry your hair. Now, what you're having the stylist do is you're taking off the retail heat off of the stylist. Because here's the product I'm going to use, Louise, and here's how much I'm using. And now I'm going to blend it with this. Okay, I'm going to place it on this side. Now I'm going to want you to do it on this side. And I'm going to coach you on how much to use and how to place it. So now you're coaching them. Now it comes time to blow dry. I'm using a round brush. I'm going to use a blow dryer. I'm going to show you mechanically how to do it. Now you hand them the blow dryer. You're handing the brush and you're coaching them how to do it. Can you imagine when you hand their phone back to them? When you hand them phone, Louise, you know how you always said you wanted to take me home so I could do your hair? Now you can. And not only that, everything that I did, how I did it, what I used, how much I used, how I placed it in your hair, it's right there. So salon owners, support them and let them do that. So that will soften the hard sell of retail. Don't throw the retail towel in because of Sephora, Amazon. You hold strong into retail because it's our professional responsibility to prescribe and recommend. I could care less if they buy it. What I care is that your team vocalizes that and coaches them and teaches them. If you develop that culture, I guarantee you're going to have busy chairs and you're going to have nice retail in sales and retail.
Okay. Here's the thing, man. To all you listening, gold, put that into action, right away. So in closing here, I want to acknowledge you. You said something before and it reminded me of this piece in the Tao Te Ching. So the oceans in all of their volume and all of their vastness, right? The oceans bow and lower to the rivers so that they can flow into them. You do that as a human.
Oh, wow, Christopher.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a legacy, my friend.
You just touched my heart, brother. You touched my heart. And that's one thing. Whenever you see me, always come up and give me a hug. I hug heart to heart. There's a lot more love and passion there. And there's a lot more sense of, really connecting there.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you taking time.
And I appreciate what you guys are doing for the industry. We need more things like this.
It takes a team,
well,
right?
This was a great conversation. I've done a lot of these, but I love this conversation. I'd love to continue to talk.
Part 6, Sam Villa.
Yep. Well, hey, let's do it again. You reach out. We'll do it again.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
All the best.
Thank you, Sam.
Listen, friends out there, remember, your progression is our obsession at Sam Villa. Thanks so much for your time.
Whew.